Okay, welcome back to another vid. Friday Brew. Tea ready, of course it is. So that's going to be freezing, as per usual, by the end of the vid. So, yes, let's see how long this video lasts for, because I think the last one was an hour and 20 minutes, was it? Maybe it was a little bit less. Maybe it was a little bit more. But it went on for a long, long time. And I knew it would. I guess that's just the way it is. I like to talk a lot, for one, and for two, there was a lot of questions. And three, I guess I spent ages answering them. So, but as ever, in the description box there's a timestamp. So if you, I'm just going to roll these sleeves up actually. Not that you needed to know that, but yeah, there's a timestamp. So if you want to skip to something, then you can. You know, you don't have to watch all of it. You should have to watch all of it because it's great, obviously. But yeah, so yeah, timestamp. Please feel free to check that if you want to skip to something, if it gets a little bit boring and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing I want to talk about is a couple of shout-outs, because I've mentioned this before, this kind of line that I've repeated in the past. But, you know, shout-outs used to be something that we used to all give in the community. It used to be a big deal in this retro community that we've got. And then really as the years have gone by, the community of sorts is still there, but it's become fragmented big time. There's loads of little pockets of communities. You know, there's thousands upon thousands of channels out there, and some of us know each other, others know of each other, and others don't know each other at all. There's so many channels, it's ridiculous. And more than ever, not just because of the YouTube changes which have came in of late, which I kind of briefly talked about in the last vid, and not just that, but it's just harder in general to attract attention, attract subs, and get people watching and commenting, interacting on your vids. So I've stumbled upon a couple of channels quite recently, and they're quite similar actually, but I thought I quite like them, so, and I've subscribed. In one case I subscribed ages ago, but I'm not sure I've ever left a comment. Maybe I have once or twice. And on the other one I subscribed relatively recently, and I don't think I've left any comments, but I should do. Because if you don't leave any comments, people don't know you're watching. So I think it's quite nice, the interaction. But anyway, so those two channels, the first one up is called David Campbell. And like I said, they're both very similar channels, really. So if you like your predominantly retro kind of pickups and nostalgic views, kind of top 10s or lists of favourite like Amstrad games, Mega Drive, Spectrum, Amiga, all that kind of stuff, collection vids, room tours, you should really watch these two channels. So yeah, David Campbell is a guy in Scotland. I think, not that it matters, but just to paint the picture, I think he said he's kind of in his early to mid-40s. Apologies, David, if I've aged you there. Not that it matters, like I say, but I think I watched a vid where you were hinting that you were a particular age when something happened, so I kind of did the maths. So anyway, it's by the by. So he's really into his Amiga, his Amstrad, just the old stuff, basically. And it seems as if he's a very nostalgic person. And to me, that was like an immediate tick in the box, because, you know, I bang on about nostalgia all the bloody time. I'm obsessed with it. Absolutely obsessed with it. It's a hobby. Nostalgia is something I count as a hobby. It's crazy. So, you know, to hear someone else being so enthusiastic, talking about memories and childhood and TV adverts and just memories in general and nostalgia, it was kind of right up my street. So I think it was like a couple of weeks back, maybe a bit longer, I think I watched about 7 or 8 videos back to back off David's channel, and it was really interesting. But like I say, I don't think I left any comments, but I'll have to go back and do that if I remember. So yeah, check out David's channel. If you're into the old stuff, you'll like that. And the next one is Retro Gamer Daz. I should say as well, at the time of writing, the time of talking, I guess I've wrote it technically on a little notepad on the screen, so that's where the writing comes from. But the time of writing or talking, David has 142 subs. Now, come on, 142. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So, clearly a very new channel, as I say. So please check his channel out. It might not be for you. You might be into the more modern stuff. But at least check it out. The link will be in the description box. So all you've got to do is click on it. That's all you've got to do. It's simple. Very, very simple. But if you like my kind of stuff, I think you'll probably like these two guys. It's a similar kind of thing, really. And yeah, and then the next one is Retro Gamer Daz. Daz has a few more subs, 223 to be precise, at the time of last look-in. And yeah, very much the same kind of thing, talking about nostalgia, buying a lot of toys and stuff. It's more of a gaming channel, but like Star Wars stuff he's got on there. He did a room tour, a collection vids, yeah, just very kind of into his nostalgia. So for me, those two channels come thoroughly recommended because it's just two people doing their stuff. There's no fancy editing. There's nothing like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they're just very much kind of very basic channels. Just stick the camera on, talk, go, end the video, and then upload it. And that's what I like. I like that simplicity. And they come across as quite nice guys. So check out their channel. As I say, if you're into all the old stuff, the 8, 16-bit stuff, you shouldn't not like it. It'll be kind of weird if you click on their channel and go, it's not for me. It should be for you. So subscribe if you can. If you want to. Don't just do it just for the sake of it. What's the point of that? But yeah, if you like it, please feel free to subscribe. So, moving on. Now, this made me laugh. I was trying to think, how do I address this? How do I talk about this? Because it's going to sound like I'm kind of complaining, which I'm not, because I've been making YouTube vids for a long, long time. But something happened which was kind of maybe a bit naive of me, really. And it's not that I didn't know this, but I guess it happened, and then I kind of thought, oh yeah, kind of it was one of those in hindsight moments. So let me paint a picture first. It's kind of a long, drawn-out story, but I will get to the point, or the points I want to make. So going back like a couple of weeks, or the best part of a couple of weeks, we went to see my niece performing in a choir, and it's a national thing throughout America, so it's not just like a local California thing. They go all across the country, and in some cases they've gone overseas. So it's a proper thing. You've kind of got to audition for this, and they get paid and all that kind of stuff. The tickets were over $40, which is ridiculous, which is around about sort of 30 odd quid. And it was a full arena of several hundred people. So yeah, this isn't just like a bunch of kids. I think she's like 18 or something like that, 17, 18. I can't even remember how old she is. Might be a little bit older. But they're all kind of college, university sort of ages. Apart from obviously the teachers, who are all ages, naturally. So we went to watch them perform, and it was good. It's not usually my kind of thing. I don't usually go out my way to see like a choir. But it was entertaining. They were all good, obviously, kind of bordering on professionals, really. And but they're all students at the same time. So before we went, we met up with her at the local college, and it was just funny because the first thing that struck me is when we walked onto the campus, nobody, nowhere, like stopped us and asked for identification. Could have been anyone. You know, of course we had that horrendous incident in Florida just the other day. More shootings. Oh God, I don't know what to say. It's just unbelievable. Maybe that's a topic for another vid. I kind of touched upon it, oddly enough, in my last vid, but maybe it's something to elaborate on more in the future. But anyway, that's kind of by the by for this example, of course. So anyway, it just struck me at the time, walking around, no one asked who we were, walking into buildings. No, it was just easy. Really, really easy, just on the grounds. And so, yeah, we walked into the cafeteria, and all the students were eating and drinking and talking and doing their stuff. Hundreds upon hundreds. Big kind of college. And so we bought something as well. You can pay cash. You don't need like a particular college swipe card or anything. So that was all good. There was a number of us. There's a couple of my sister-in-law. Well, one sister-in-law. There was my father-in-law and his current wife, plus his ex-wife. He's on his third. So my mother-in-law wasn't there. So there's like 3 different wives. Unbelievable. So there's that. So anyway, we were all there. And me, my wife, and 1 or 2 others. Anyway, so we had something to eat, which was nice. We kind of caught up with her. And then she went off and she had to get ready for the concert, obviously. So then we went off and we came back about an hour or so later. And we went into the arena, watched it. It was good, all the rest of it. I'll kind of fast forward as much as I can through this. So yeah, it was a choir. So it was just what you'd expect from that kind of thing. So we enjoyed that. That was quite good. Tickets were expensive, blah, blah, blah. Now, after the concert finished, we walked out the front, the exit, like everybody else. But then we went all the way around the back. And because what we wanted to see was Naomi before she went off. Because basically these kids, they're going from gig to gig, if you want to call it a gig, or concert to concert. They've got they're performing literally like one state one day, and then 48 hours later they're in another state. They're going all over the place. It's crazy. So as soon as the gig finished, they were just getting changed. They had their packed lunches kind of ready, and they were getting on a bus. I think there was 3 buses, which would have all the kids, all the teachers, the instruments, all that kind of stuff, the amplifiers, etc., all the equipment. And then they were just literally within an hour, probably maybe half an hour of finishing the concert, they were off. Crazy. So before they went off, we wanted to see them. So we went round the back, again, no security, completely ridiculous, people going back and forth, taking all the equipment to the buses to move on to the next stage, to the next concert, as I say, and we just casually strolled on in there. And eventually there was this kid that kind of looked at us. He did look a little bit like, you know, who are they kind of thing. But maybe there were no alarm bells ringing because we didn't look particularly shifty. And my father-in-law was there, and it's not like he's young, obviously. So there was elderly people there as well. So I guess there was no concern as a result. But we could have been anyone. Could have been maniacs. And this kid was standing there, very kind of, you know, in his suit and all the rest of it. He was like, oh, can I help? And I'm like, and he looked at me, and I went, oh yeah, we're looking for my niece. And then he went randomly. He went, oh, Naomi. How does he know that? I went, yeah. Now it could have been anyone. Like I could have been anybody. I didn't even mention her name. He mentioned it. So I could have been anybody. But anyway, I wasn't. And so he led us over. He went, oh yeah, you know, follow me. So we went into like the changing rooms. They were all changed, thankfully. And there was a conductor there. My father-in-law wanted to meet him because, you know, he's kind of into that conducting thing as well in his spare time. And so we met up with her. Just kind of said, oh, see you later, great gig, you know, catch up soon kind of thing. And off they went. So that was kind of interesting, just to see it all unfolding backstage. You know, because you never get to see that, do you really, when you go to like a concert or a gig? You just go there, you watch it, and then you go home. You don't really see what happens outside at the back. All the equipment moving and people, you know, they're on a strict time limit. Got to get things done. So there's loads of people moving things, tearing props down. It's kind of crazy. It's something I have experienced before, watching a couple of music gigs where we have gone backstage, but it was still interesting. So anyway, so we went home, and this is the point I'm getting to eventually. Went home kind of in a good mood because we'd been out for like 6 or 7 hours. We'd had something to eat. We got together. We watched the concert. We met people backstage. It was fun. Had a fun kind of night out. Got back, checked my email, couple of comments on YouTube vids. First one was just a standard one. And then the second one was a ridiculous one. And this is kind of my point I want to make, which I'll get to eventually. And it's amazing how quickly you can go from being in a really good mood to a really bad mood where you want to smack someone's face in. You really did. Now, the comment revolved around my last Friday Brew. If you remember, I talked about, well, one of many things. It was the Mandela effect. I won't go into it again. You either know what it is or you don't. You can always check that vid. Or just Google it, Wikipedia, YouTube it. The Mandela effect, it's been making social media news the last few months, I guess. I wasn't really familiar with it at all up until 2 or 3 weeks back. So anyway, this comment was there, and it started off by saying, you're talking rubbish, re the Mandela effect. And then they proceeded, this random person, never heard of them before. Again, I'm going to get to that. They proceeded to list a load of examples as to why I was talking rubbish. So examples of why it's aliens or it's time traveling and different dimensions and all that kind of stuff. You know, how do you explain this and all that kind of stuff? And every single one he was listing, of course, was ridiculous. It really was. But if someone believes in something, then you'll never win an argument with them. Never. Because they're set in stone. They've got their views, their opinions. And that's just the way it is. And I'm not going to believe in the Mandela effect because it's bollocks. But they do, and it's fine. We can just agree to disagree. But this person wasn't having it, and they were trying to convince me. So there was a lot of examples. I didn't read them all. I kind of skimmed through them so I can get the general gist. But what made me laugh, towards the end of it, he went, oh, it seems to me like you're a bit of an idiot. I don't know why I'm doing this voice. Maybe that's what he sounds like. Seems to me like you're a bit of an idiot. He says, although, and then he was obviously looking up at the ST. He said, I can see you used to have an ST. He said, I like that. He said, so it proves that you used to be all right, at least. Ridiculous. And then his last line made me laugh even more because he said something like, won't be subscribing, enjoy your YouTube career. And then there was like a little emoji. Now, I can't remember if that emoji was like a strongman arm, like a tough guy, or a thumbs up, or like a bag of money. I think it may have been the bag of money because that would make sense. You know, enjoy your YouTube career, i.e. money and all the rest of it. But if you'd have watched that vid, that very same vid, I talked about monetization, how I've never done it, and I don't make videos to make money. I've never earned a penny. So clearly he hadn't watched the video. What had happened, and I'm getting towards the point here, he'd searched for something with the Mandela effect, and he discovered my video as a result. I clicked on his channel. Obviously, he doesn't have any vids. They never do, these aggressive kind of argumentative, negative people. And I noticed all the people, pretty much all the people he was subscribed to, we're all kind of conspiracy channels and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, but the point that I want to make is that, you know, there were a couple of thumbs down on the vid, which really surprised me. I know I've set myself up nicely to get some on this. It won't mean anything, because it'll probably people just being silly for the sake of it. Now I've said that. But usually I don't get any. Every now and again there's one. Very rarely there's two. But usually I don't get any thumbs down or dislikes. I guess because I don't go out my way to cause trouble. I like to think I just come across as quite easygoing. And yeah, I'm just not into all that negativity. Going back many years on YouTube, oh yeah, absolutely. Fight fire with fire, I'd be there like a nutcase. Absolutely. Responding to comments and all that kind of stuff. But not anymore. It's just delete the comment, block the user, and they're gone. Just move on. Not going to respond to it. Just not interested anymore. Too old for it. It's nonsense. But don't get me wrong. A few years ago, I'd have absolutely have loved a good argument. Absolutely. It's still there, like in the back of my mind. I'm still tempted to do it, but you get older, you get a bit more mature, you learn. You learn when to kind of back off. So yeah, I clicked on this person's channel, and he had no vids and conspiracy channels that he subscribed to and all the rest of it. And it just kind of made me laugh. But the bigger point, as I say, I'm kind of going to get there now, is that when I saw the 2 dislikes, and obviously, well, I'm guessing one of them was from him, it made me think, well, are they from people who are subscribed to me? And why would that be the case? You know, surely you subscribe to someone who you like and you wouldn't want to dislike their vid. That's weird. Why would you subscribe to someone? That doesn't make any sense to me. Unless you're just deliberately there just to try and annoy someone. Fine, fair enough. And then it dawned on me that, hang on a minute, on that video, in the description of the title of the vid, I put like the Friday Brew and the Mandela Effect. And then I think I put Star Wars. Now, that wasn't deliberate to like kind of get people watching. I just put that on there because that's what the video was about. It's just to help subscribers before you click on the vid. Oh, this is kind of what's on the vid. That's all it was. But then I realised, so naive. It's not that I didn't know this. I guess I'd just forgotten. But anybody in the world who would type in the Mandela Effect, or maybe Star Wars Rogue One or something, whatever I put in that description title, then my video is going to come up. And particularly if they were searching for that, you know, within like 20 minutes or an hour or two of me uploading that vid, that would have been one of the most recent Mandela Effect hits, if you like. So when you put these videos out there, it's a bit of a stark reminder and a warning. Just be careful what you put, because anybody can search it. So that maybe explained why I had a couple of dislikes, or certainly one of them anyway. So if you're going to put videos out there, remember that not everybody who's watching is going to be a subscriber. They could be anybody. They might not like retro games. They might not like football or music or whatever else I do or whatever else you do. They might just be really into their conspiracy theories. You know, if I put something about like the Bible in my description box of the title of the vid, then I'm going to entice and encourage people who are into that kind of thing to watch my vid. And especially if I'm saying something which they're going to disagree with, then I'm going to get a bit of flack for that, as you would, as we all would. So it was a bit of an eye-opener. And it made me think, actually, maybe I'm not as annoyed or offended as I initially was with the dislikes. Because initially I thought, well, who are they from? It must be from subscribers. And then I thought, obviously not. It's just a bunch of randoms who basically, probably, I'm guessing, are really in favour of the Mandela Effect. They didn't like the fact that I disagree, and so that's how they're going to show that they disagree with me. So maybe we take the whole dislike thing a little bit too seriously. Maybe that's a situation. I know it can put a lot of people off, but there's a lot of ways to combat that. Like I say, be careful what you put in the topic of the title of the vid, but B, just be careful what you say on vid. You know, if you're not going to be controversial, then and be offensive, then you're not really going to encounter that. There's always going to be the odd one or two. There's always going to be someone who's going to try and wind you up. But generally, if you just be nice, I think most people kind of appreciate that. I think so, anyway. So that's that tea's already starting to get cold. It's ridiculous. So that's that. It just made me laugh. Yeah, so dislikes and stuff. I don't get too many, and I haven't really over the years. I've been quite lucky in that. But like I say, I don't really say anything controversial. But when you do, i.e. the Mandela Effect or anything like that, it is going to encourage people to watch your vid, and the chances immediately magnify that people are going to disagree with you tenfold. And if that happens, you're going to get some silly comments, you're going to get dislikes, you're going to have, people arguing and stuff. But the whole Mandela Effect, I don't want to go into it again because I did it last week, but I find it staggering, really. Now, I do admit some of the things are a little bit kind of weird, you know, but it's just a mind. That's all it is, mind playing tricks. Or sometimes it could be maybe a different version of a video. Maybe they released 2 versions of a song, for example, and maybe one was only very briefly played, you know. For example, I was watching something like Top of the Pops the other night on YouTube. It's like Top of the Pops 1985. I think they've done this whole series where they cover like every year. I don't know which one they've got up to or where they stopped or what have you, but we were watching the 1985 one last night, and there was a bit about Paul Hardcastle, if you remember the song 19 about the Vietnam War, and he was saying that to keep it at number 1, to stop, was it Duran Duran at the time getting to number 1? What he did with every week, he did a new mix of the song, and that new mix would go on Top of the Pops every week. So some people out there may have heard one version, and then they hear another version, they may be like, I could have sworn that Paul Hardcastle version was different. Well, it was, because he kept changing it up every week. So maybe the version you heard was that one which was only ever played on that one episode of Top of the Pops. So it can play tricks with the mind, and maybe that's what it is. So I want to quickly move on to what have I been watching lately. Just a couple of things. I mean, I've been watching a few documentaries and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not going to dwell on that in this vid. I'm very quickly going to sum up these 2, really. I did mean to talk about this last week, or 2 weeks ago, but that video went on for ages, as this one is going to do. And it's Stranger Things 2. So yeah, Stranger Things, the first season, we watched, as I touched upon 2 vlogs back, I think. We watched in an entire day. I think it was, we put it on like 12 o'clock on a Sunday, and we watched it all the way through to like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. It was ridiculous. But it was really addictive, and I just wanted to watch every episode. And my wife kept saying, come on, Anne, that's enough now, isn't it? But then eventually she kind of got into it as well. She'd actually seen the first season before. I don't know what I was doing, probably on YouTube or something when she was watching it. But she didn't mind watching it again. And then we could start season 2. So yeah, season 2 was more of the same, i.e. it was quite predictable. But I'm not being, I'm not just slagging the programme off. I really liked it. It was a good show. I did like it. I probably prefer season 2, really, overall to season 1. But it was predictable in the sense, well, obviously that I kind of knew what was coming next. There was only 1 or 2 incidents which happened that I wasn't expecting. I could kind of call exactly what was going to happen. Or I had a good idea anyway, and everything that I kind of thought did, it transpired, end up happening. So, yeah, they introduced a couple of new main characters, kind of. One, which is Max, which is the girl who joins the lads, the boys, their little kind of team, their little group, their little kind of exclusive club. Under much duress, I think. There's 1 or 2 of them didn't kind of want her there. She didn't even want to be there to begin with. But eventually she kind of joined in with them. And then she's got a brother called Billy. Billy's kind of this very, he's got the mullet, he's a kind of a rock guy, he's really arrogant and kind of, really kind of, got a lot of anger and angst kind of built up inside him, and he comes across as a bit of a knobhead, kind of cool, but in a knobhead way, and then towards the end of the second season, you kind of you basically can see why he's the way he is. It's because essentially his dad bullies him and probably beats him, and that's where he gets his anger from. So then you start to feel sorry for him. So I think what's going to happen, and I've no idea, they've not even started filming it yet, but I think what's going to happen in season 3 is he'll be a lot more prevalent, because he kind of disappeared for the last 2 or 3 episodes. He got involved in a fight with Steve, and then his sister, Max, injected him. Was that morphine? I don't know what it was. And he kind of knocked him out unconscious to stop him from completely battering Steve's face in. And then you didn't see him in the rest of the season, not from memory anyway. So I think what's going to happen, as I was about to say, is in season 3 he'll be a lot more prevalent, but he'll start to turn and change, because we've seen the reason why he was angry and why he's got all this pent-up kind of anger. And I think the next one he'll start to come around to being a likeable character. And I don't know whether he'll have like a fight with his dad or something, or maybe not. Maybe just tell him where to go, and he'll become a lot more independent. Yeah, so I see that happening. And if it does, again, then it's kind of predictable. It's a very predictable show. My only problem now with Stranger Things, and I may have said this a couple of vlogs back, is that I really hope they don't milk the series, the franchise, because they've done 2. They're going to do the 3rd one, which is going to start filming this year. And I just hope they wrap it up quickly. Maybe within the next 1 or 2. Because remember, the kids are all getting older as well. I think one of them's just recently turned 17. Most of the others are 14, 15. It's Lucas who's the older one. So eventually, they're going to start looking older, because obviously they are. And that growth from like 11, 12 up until 16, 17, 18, I mean, you can tell the difference between like an 11 or 12-year-old and a 17, 18-year-old. So they've really got to kind of work that into the storyline. So maybe they'll leave school or go to college or whatever. I don't know what they're going to do, obviously. I just hope they don't milk it. They did say they want to wrap it up within 4 to 5 seasons. 5 maybe pushing it. I'd like to see it done within 3 or 4, to be honest, but we'll see. It's all about money, isn't it? If it makes money, they're going to make it. You know, it's just Hollywood. It's the movie, the TV industry, the Netflix industry. Whatever makes them money, they're going to keep doing. So that's that. But yeah, I did enjoy it, Stranger Things 2. And then we've just started to watch the 3rd season, or series, I guess, season for UK. No, hang on, what would it be? Season for the US, series for the UK, of Broadchurch. So yeah, season or series 3 of Broadchurch with David Tennant, i.e. Doctor Who, amongst many other things, but Doctor Who's the only other thing I can think he's done. Yeah, now, it's good. I did like the first series and the second series. They were pretty good, but this one we've only just started watching. I think there's like 8 or 9 episodes, where 3 into it, I think, at the time of making this vid. And what I like about Broadchurch is they're all connected in a way. It's got characters still in season 3 from the first one, so it's kind of, there's a continuation there, but it's also new things happen in each series. But what I like about it, and I've particularly noticed it in this one, is that it really forces you and keeps you second guessing. You know, there's several times where I've watched it, unlike Stranger Things, where it is predictable. But with Broadchurch, I'm watching it and I'm thinking, that person is as guilty as sin. They did it. They are responsible for that act. And then it'll focus on the next character, and it'll make it seem as if they're guilty. And then you second guess yourself and you're like, they did it. They definitely did it. And my wife's like, yeah, but you said they did it. And I'm like, yeah, but they did, but now they've done it. And then someone else will come on and be like, they did it. And I'm still not really sure. I've got an idea, but every time I've got an idea, so try not to reveal any spoilers if you don't mind, for season 3, if you've even watched it. But there's been several examples where I've convinced myself that so-and-so is the guilty, like the cab driver. Again, don't tell me who it is. I'm thinking it's definitely him. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe it's the husband, kind of the ex. Maybe it's him. But no, maybe it's one of them young kids. He's a bit shifty. That one. So it's all over the place. Like, your mind thinking, who is it? So, and there's a couple of other characters as well who are kind of... is it Lenny Henry? I didn't even look at the actors, but it looks like it was Lenny Henry playing one of them. And I thought, he could be it. And then there's another guy who's the husband of another wife. The ones who were hosting the party where this kind of incident happened. I'm thinking, it's him. Or is it her? It's kind of really weird. But then it couldn't really be her, I guess. It's weird. Just the way the story kind of pans out. Who knows? It's kind of odd, but it's making me second guess everything. And I like that. That's a sign of a good show, I think. But what I have heard with Broadchurch, apparently, is there's not going to be another one. And I think that's the thing, isn't it, with UK television shows? There's always going to be exceptions. But generally speaking, what happens is in the UK, what we tend to do is do 2, 3, 4 series, and that's it. It's done, it's dusted, we don't want to ruin it, and we move on. And in the US, what we do, again, it's we for UK and US, what we do over here is we kind of generally, again, always exceptions, but we tend to milk things. And eventually it gets to the point where it's boring. For me, anyway, it's like, oh, God, not another one. And there was Patricia Routledge, who played Hyacinth in Keeping Up Appearances. I watched an interview with her recently. She's still looking good for, like, in her 80s now. And, I mean, under the circumstances of being 80-odd. But she said something like, it's better to kind of stop at the height and for people to remember it as a great show, rather than for someone to put the telly on and go, is that still going? And it's almost one of those better to burn out and fade away, isn't it? Depends how you feel about that, and in what context you want to put it in, of course. But when we're talking about TV programmes, then yeah, very much I agree with what Patricia Routledge says. It's true. It's best just to go out on a high and keep people wanting more. A bit like bands that split up, like the Smiths, the Jam, Slade, classic kind of rock bands. People want them to continue. Oasis, for that matter, Reform, and many, many, many others. And these bands probably never will. Oasis will probably never reform. But there's always that audience there that will want them to do it. But it's probably best that they don't, really. But anyway, so that's that. Yeah, let's move on to what I've been playing. There's just one game which I finished recently, and it's Star Wars Battlefront 2. And I've got to be honest, I downloaded this at Christmas, digital download, so straight away, a lot of people are not going to be fans of that. But it was on sale. At the time, anyway, the physical version for the deluxe edition was still around about $45, $50. And the digital sale, I think it was 30-ish. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to save $15, $20 or whatever it was. It's going to be digital. I've got quite a few digital games already. I know there's a question on digital games coming up later on, so we'll maybe talk about that in more depth. So I'm very experienced with digital games now, and I love the convenience of it. Again, I'll elaborate on that later. So I bought the digital version, and I started it over Christmas. I've not taken it online. It's a very heavily orientated online multiplayer game, but you can play offline with bots. I love that. More games should have that. It may have been something I touched upon in my last vid as well, or a recent one. I love the fact that you don't have to go online with all the stress and people sitting in corners and camping and the arguing and the swearing in the headset and all that kind of stuff. I love how you can just avoid all that, you know, just by playing with bots online. It's brilliant. You can set the rules of the game, the time limits, the amount of kills to get in a game, what kind of game mode it is, capture the flag, team deathmatch, kill confirmed, all those kind of equivalents. And I like that. So, yeah, I played it a little bit over Christmas, very, very briefly with the bots, I hasten to add, but started the campaign, and I've finished it. I wrapped it up like 2 or 3 days ago, whenever it was. I think I played it for about 3 or 4 hours over the course of 2 or 3 nights, and wrapped up the game, like I say. Now, the one thing that I'll say firstly is that I did enjoy it. It is good. It's quite quick. I think I didn't time it, but I'd hazard a guess that it maybe took me 6 or 7 hours. And all, if that actually, it might even have been a little bit less, maybe about 5 hours, which isn't very long. And the important thing, a couple of important things to point out, is I had it on the hardest difficulty setting, yet still finished it within 5, 6, maybe 7 hours. And all but one level, I cranked the difficulty level, or I had it on high, apart from one. And it was the one where you've got to eliminate, what's his name, Hask? I think that's his name. You've got to, and you're in like an X-Wing. I think it's an X-Wing, I can't even remember. Whatever ship you're in. And I found that really hard on the hardest difficulty setting. Not so much hard that they kept killing me, the actual TIE fighters or whatever it was, but I couldn't shake off the incoming missiles. I could shake off some, but not all of them. And I couldn't figure out a pattern. It was really frustrating. And I notched it down to there's 3 settings basically, if you look at it like easy, medium and hard. And I put it on easy, and I did it on the first attempt. And then I put it back up to hard and completed the rest of the game on the hard. So basically all the game, apart from one level, I did on the hardest difficulty setting, and it was easy. The AI, apart from that one level, the AI was awful. The only other game from memory that has something like this would have been Crysis 2. And what that is, it's almost as if, and I got that feeling playing Crysis 2, and I got that feeling again playing this game. It's almost like, imagine approaching, you're controlling the character, you kind of walk onto into an environment, and you can see the enemy in the background, and they're not moving, because maybe you could say, well, if you want to immerse yourself, you could say, well, maybe they haven't seen you. But in reality, what it is, it's programmed into the game. There's some kind of trigger there. And then once you cross a certain point, your character, it springs them into life. And then they start reacting and coming on over to you and trying to shoot you and all that kind of stuff. But until you get to that trigger point, which is an invisible line, then you can basically just pick the enemies off. And it's the same in this game. The exact same would happen. You don't have to fully go into a room, and you could see people zoom in, pick them off, they wouldn't do anything. Sometimes they would, but usually they wouldn't. And it was poor. It was really, really poor. They'd have the scout walkers that would repeatedly, on different levels, get stuck, like kind of glitching into an environment where they got trapped in a wall. And then you could just unload, your bazooka or your missile or whatever gun it was, or bombs, grenades, into it and destroy it. So it was easy. It was really, really bad. It was like a combination of, is it rushed? I mean, I don't, it seems as if really, because if you remember, the lack of a single player campaign in Battlefront was a big problem for a lot of people. So it's almost as if they've thought, well, we've just got to rush this in. We've got to have a single player in Battlefront 2, or people are going to go mental. So they've kind of put this campaign in there, very rushed. It was still quite enjoyable, I've got to be honest, I did enjoy it, but the length of it, 5, 6, maybe 7 hours, and the lack of difficulty curve was something else. So I really wasn't a fan of that. The storyline was okay. It did feel quite disjointed though, because you play several different characters, and that it takes you out of the moment. Although then it puts you back in it, controlling like the main protagonist, which I can't remember what you call it. Is it Eden? Someone like that? I can't remember. Quite a likeable character in a way. And then there's some added kind of DLC, which is free, and then it adds on like an extra 3 chapters, again, which are very, very easy. The AI is woeful, but I completed that as well. That must have took an hour at best, really. But there's some good stuff in there. You play as, like, during the campaign, very briefly, as Han Solo, Leia, Luke, Lando, 1 or 2 others, Kylo Ren. But so like I said, there's probably 2 or 3 others I can think of as well. So you play as a lot of people, so it can give that feeling of feeling a little bit disjointed, but it's all kind of connected, sort of loosely, and it ties in with some of the other movies as well, like Rogue One. I liked it. It just felt a little bit rushed, and the AI was bad, and that's an absolute understatement. Oh, very quickly, Kingdom Come Deliverance is a game which has just come out. Again, I keep saying, I talked about it in my last vlog. I was going to pre-order it, but I was really on the fence. I thought, what if it's rubbish? You know, because you never know. And they've got this thing which is very prevalent these days of having embargoes on reviews. Suspicious. That is so suspicious. Why would you not release the game? Or not release the game. Well, release the game to reviewers. You know, in this day and age, it'll be like a lot of YouTubers, admittedly, but game companies, magazines and YouTube channels, websites, all that kind of stuff. Release the game, and then we can watch a review and we can judge for ourselves whether we want to pre-order it or whether we want to buy it on launch or near launch. What they shouldn't do, which is what they do, is basically have the game come out and then 2, 3, 4 days later everybody starts reviewing it. I just find it sly and sneaky, especially in this day and age of patches. I mean, I know Kingdom Come Deliverance has got like a 23 gig patch on day 1, which is just astonishing. Now, it's good in one sense. I think a lot of people sometimes forget the fact that what we can do in this day and age is we can patch games, so we can iron out problems. We couldn't do that in the past. So if a game was broken, then we had a broken game. And that's bad, if you think about it. So it is very good, and I don't think enough people think about this hard enough. But I think it's a good thing that we have the patches, because, like I say, it can eradicate all the problems, the glitches, the bugs, all that kind of stuff. It can give us a better experience. But I do feel as a result of the fact that we've got these patches and we can do them, it is making game developers complacent, and they are rushing things out, and that's a problem, I think, really, even though they can rectify that with the patches. So it's one of those, it's got good points, it's got negative points, depends how you want to look at it, but ultimately I think it's a good thing we can at least correct them with patches, even if a 23 gig patch is ludicrously big, ludicrous, and it'll probably take hours to download, but in the future, of course, that won't be a problem in terms of time, but now it is an issue. I think that's the next big evolvement for me when it comes to gaming. It'll be digital games and the speed at which they're downloaded. It's not going to take hours in the future. You know, if I watch this video back in the future, or just talk about it, I'll be like, bloody hell, I can't believe we used to wait an hour, or even 20 minutes, or 1 minute. Things will be just instantly downloaded. That's the way it should be. In this day and age, if we can go to the moon, and I'm not going talking about conspiracy theorists, although there's a question later again about that. If we can go to the moon and we can do all this really clever stuff, we should be able to make games downloadable in like a second, really. But that'll come in the future, of course. So anyway, so I didn't pre-order Kingdom Come Deliverance. It does look good. I've seen a whole stack of mixed reviews by not professional people, people I guess maybe who have sneakily got the game early, and a few reviews on Amazon stuff, people who have bought it before the reviews have come out. Some people love it, some people hate it. What do? You know, when there's a game like that where the reviews are all across the board, I think the only thing you can do is buy it yourself and judge it for yourself. But for me, it's just a case of, do I want to spend $50, $60, or should I wait? And the fact that I didn't pre-order it says to me I'm going to wait. Maybe when it's $30, maybe $40, I'll pick it up. And let's face it, that's probably only going to be a couple of weeks, because the way prices diminish this day and age, it's ridiculous. So that's that. Now, we're going to move on to the questions. So, bloody hell, 3/4 an hour into it, it's going to be another long vid. But like I always say, the timestamp, that's what it's for. So, first questions. Justin Moseley. Thank you, Justin. I think you new subscriber. I don't recognise your name. So thank you for the questions. Thank you to everybody for the questions. if you've got any for next week, then please put them in the description box below, and I'll probably answer them. Depends what they are. So, but I say, yeah, Justin Moseley, 2 questions. First one, what is your opinion of the flat Earth theory? So I'm not going to elaborate too much on this, not because I don't want to, have a load of people from the flat Earth kind of world coming over and arguing and stuff. I've not really watched a lot of videos about it, Justin. I think I did say when you left the comments, when I replied to it, I said that I'd watch a few vids, and I did. I did watch a few vids on it, and I mean, I was aware of the flat Earth theory anyway. It's not like, I've never heard of it. But I did watch a couple of vids, but nothing which people said made me think we have a flat Earth. We have a flat Earth. Nothing made me think that, to be honest. But as I touched upon previously, it is kind of interesting in the sense that, and I don't mean to make it sound like I subscribe to the theory of the flat Earth, because ultimately I don't. I don't believe that. But it is interesting in the sense that ultimately we don't know. We are going on information that other people give us. If somebody tells us something, scientists, theorists, then we tend to believe it. Whatever's on the news, whatever's in the media, we tend to believe, we trust. There's a big degree, a large degree, an element of trust there. But I don't know for certain, personally, that the Earth is round. I don't know that for certain. You could say that about anything. I don't know anything for certain. Or we don't know anything. But we take it for granted that the people that are telling us these things in mainstream media are telling us the truth. But you can watch these vids, as I did with the flat Earth theory, and listen to people who are really passionate about it, and they'll list like point A, B, and C in favour of there being a flat Earth. And you can watch it and you'll be like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But then all you've got to do is watch a video where people are countering that argument, people in favour of going, hang on a minute, no, it's the Earth is round, and then they'll do point A, B, C, D, E, and you'll be like, well, yeah, obviously they're right. So again, it comes down to that. Who do you want to believe? Does it really matter? I don't know. I'm not really one of those people who's into conspiracy theories, but I find it kind of interesting, and with the flat Earth one in particular, it seems to have gained a lot of momentum in recent months. I've seen it on the news a lot, more than I have done ever, quite frankly. So I noticed you've had a few celebrities coming out talking about it. Didn't you have Freddie Flintoff, the cricketer? I don't know if he was taking the piss or whether he was trying to really push forward his views. But it's very easy to mock someone, isn't it? I mean, as I did with the Mandela effect. I mean, I guess who knows technically, but it just seems weird. So yeah, that's the same kind of stance I'll take with the Mandela effect that I'll take with the flat Earth theory, is that my initial reaction, not being an expert, is that it's a load of nonsense because it seems stupid. But ultimately, I don't really know. And I feel stupid saying that. But even though that is true, none of us really know. But based on what evidence I have seen, I have to disagree with the flat Earth theory. That's my stance, but each to their own. And then his second question, an alternative question, so maybe I shouldn't have answered the flat Earth one. Alternative question, do you like Dino Dini's goal on the Amiga? The Amiga. For him, it beats Sensi, Kickoff, all of them. Now that's interesting. For me, it doesn't, Justin. I think Sensi is better, Sensible World of Soccer especially, and I love Kickoff too as well. I absolutely adored that game. The control mechanism is fantastic. Once you get to grips with it, it's one you've got to master, Kickoff 2. It's not instantly accessible like Sensible World of Soccer or just Sensible Soccer is. Very simple, basic, arcade, simple, press the button, does the pass, does the shooting, swerve the joystick for the aftertouch. But even then, it's quite limited. Kickoff 2 is more advanced, but once you get to grips with it, it's a brilliant game. So Goal is basically, for those who don't know, it's kind of like Kickoff, an extension of Kickoff. It's made by Dino Dini, who made the Kickoff game, who again I mentioned in my last video. It's always coming back to the last video. I talk about how Kickoff Revival, his PS4 game, is just atrocious. It really is bad. But yeah, so I have played Goal. In fact, I was playing it just last night because I wanted to get another feeling of it. For the record, I was Man United because they were probably the best team around about that time, so I wanted to make sure I didn't lose. And I played a friendly against Aberdeen. And I won 6-4. And also Brian McClair missed a penalty. When I say missed a penalty, you should have seen it. It went like near the corner flag. It was ridiculous. So yeah, I did have it back in the day. I say back in the day, I probably bought my copy of Goal 94, maybe 95. And I think it came out in 93, maybe 94, 93, 94 time. So yeah, I bought it about a year or so after it came out. And I did like it back in the day, But for me personally, it wasn't as good as Kickoff 2, or it wasn't as good as Sensible Soccer. I much preferred those. But it's still a good game, and playing it last night, I did like it. You know, if you like Kickoff 2, you're probably going to like it. It's kind of like a beefed up version, if you like, on steroids. But at the same time, there's something lacking that the original, or the Kickoff 2 anyway, had. I can't quite nail what that is. Maybe it could just be nostalgia and rose-tinted glasses, which makes me favour Kickoff 2, I don't know. So yeah, do I like Dino Dini's goal? Yes, I do. It is a good game, but for me, it's probably way down the pecking order. For me, it's behind Sensible Soccer, it's behind Sensible World of Soccer, it's behind Kickoff 2. For me, it's behind Emlyn Hughes International Soccer, which is a brilliant game. And quite frankly, probably one or two others. But it's still good. I do like it. So thanks, Justin. Next two questions are from Joncryan. Thank you, John. What was your favourite cartoon / toy line from the late 80s to the early 90s? He was a huge Transformers fan, so that would be his, well, he says but his choice. Yeah, John, I was obviously into all that kind of stuff as well. By the early 90s, I mean, let's take 1990, I was 11 or 12, depending on what month we were in. So I was kind of coming towards the edge, or the end, of having toys, really. And I still had a few. I think things like, what did I have, like kind of 1990 time? Maybe 91. In fact, I can tell you, in 1991, I definitely still had G.I. Joe and, is it G.I. Joe Action Force? Cobra, that kind of stuff. I definitely still had them. The weird reason, I've just remembered, this is really weird. The reason I remember that is on my 13th birthday, so it would have been 1991, I had a couple of presents, and before I went to school, I opened up a couple of presents that my mum and dad had given me. And one of them was that blue Cobra enemy. I'll put a picture of it on the screen, if there hasn't been a load of pictures already. Probably has been, and will be for the rest of it. Just to add a bit of aesthetics for those who are watching, and not listening in the bath, Alex, Nintendo Arcade. So, yeah, and I remember specifically, it's so weird how you remember these things. I remember just about to go to school, 1991, my birthday, and a couple of presents, opened that Action Force present, and I remember my dad saying, just before or just after I'd opened it, he said, "Oh, happy birthday." He said, "You're a teenager now." And I remember going, "No, I'm not." And it hadn't dawned on me, and he went, "Yeah, you are." I said, 13. And I remember going, "Oh, yeah." It just dawned on me that, wow, I was a teenager. The day before I wasn't, and then all of a sudden, here I am, 1991, I've turned a teenager, and I just couldn't wrap my head around it. It made me feel old instantly. I remember exactly where I was. I can picture the furniture. It's so bizarre. So yeah, I still had all that Action Force, G.I. Joe, Cobra stuff in the very early 90s. But not long after that, maybe as a psychological thing of thinking, bloody hell, I'm a teenager, I started to fade away from it. But yeah, late 80s, early 90s, Transformers for me as well. I loved all that. Again, you said late 80s, so I'm not going to mention the mid-80s stuff, like Star Wars. That was kind of late 80s as well, wasn't it, really? The brand kind of went on. What else was from specifically the late 80s? I guess it would be Turtles, mate, to be honest. I did like the Turtles, kind of 89, 1990. I had the Turtles figures. And I'd say, if it wasn't Transformers, which by the early 90s I'd definitely moved on from, Turtles and that G.I. Joe, Action Man, Cobra, I don't know what the hell you call it. It would be that. That's my answer. What was your best gaming magazine growing up? For him, it had to be Mean Machines, followed by Superplay. Yeah, I absolutely loved Mean Machines and Superplay, John. Loved those magazines. And I'd love to start buying them back as well. I've seen a lot of people. In fact, I mentioned the Shoutouts before on the at the start of the vid. I think it's Retro Gamer Daz has started to buy Mean Machines magazines back. So again, if you like all the magazine stuff, check out his channel. Check out both the channels as well. You'll probably like it. Not just you, John. Everybody who's watching, check out those two channels. Chans? It's a bit of slang in it. Bit hip. Mean Machines absolutely loved it. Superplay. But for me, and these aren't in any particular order, other things as well that I've not got here, such as like Amiga Format, the One Amiga, the One ST. Did I just mention CMVG? I can't remember. But that as well. Zero Magazine. Zero Magazine was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. Controversial with the way it finished. Maybe talk about that in another vid. But I'll use these examples. Games X. Now, Games X I absolutely loved. It specifically reminds me of my paper round. Now, this particular issue is issue 12 in July 1991. This is the one I'll cover next. I've got up to, well, I've done 11 issues, well, 12 issues I've done because I did the preview issue. This, maybe next week, I'll do this one because I really do need to get back to making Games X vids. So, yeah, it just reminds me of my paper round. It seemed as if, and it can't have been, but it seemed as if every week, you know, I would buy this after I'd finished my paper round, take it home, read it. Sometimes read it whilst I'm doing my paper round, kind of stop off and just have a break and read it. I absolutely love it. So Games X, it was a weekly, and then I think latterly a fortnightly computer game magazine, essentially. Very thin, as you'll see. It's like a newspaper, and I absolutely used to really, really love it. If you've not heard of Games X, check out my vids. I've done 12, like I say, so far, and I'll resume the series maybe next week if I remember. I'll do it eventually anyway. The other one I'll mention is ST Action. I so remember having this specific magazine. It's ridiculous. There's a demo disc there with Video Kid, Leander, Parasol Stars, and Indie Heat, if you can see that there. And I remember playing those games, taking the discs out, sticking it into my ST, that very one up there, the 520 STE Discovery Extra Pack. And just a brilliant magazine, really good. Basically just the same as Amiga Action, really, but just for the ST. And then last but not least, this was probably the very first computer game magazine that I started buying, and I bought it relatively regularly, not every issue, but relatively regularly from, say, late 87, I reckon. Oh, let me see. Yeah, kind of late 87, up until maybe about sort of late 91, by which time I'd moved on to, like, the ST, but I still had this computer, and it was the Amstrad. And this magazine is Amstrad Action. I used to love it. Amstrad Action, you'll see there right at the top, it says it's for the CPC, the GX4000 and the CPC Plus. Now, the reason I got an Amstrad GX4000 was because of this bloody magazine. It was hyping it beyond belief, so you've got to get it. It's going to be the next big thing. And having an Amstrad at the time, a CPC 6128, I believed them, and I got the GX4000 for Christmas in 1990 instead of an Amiga. And the GX4000 ended up being rubbish, quite frankly. But I wouldn't change it for the world. Great memories, it's nostalgia. And I say rubbish, it was quite a good system. There just wasn't a lot of games for it. But there's a few good ones. Navy Seals is amazing. Rock hard, but amazing. Even the game that came bundled with the console, Burning Rubber. Really, really good. Good music, plays well. Yeah, they had some good games. They just didn't have enough. That was the main problem. They were quite expensive. That was the other one. Like 25, 30 quid. I think 25. And also the biggest problem of all, kind of connected to the fact that there wasn't enough, is that the ones that they had, 90% of them were just ports of the CPC game, which I probably already had on tape or on disc. Picked them up at like a quarter of the price. So it came out about a year, 2 years too late. But I tell you what, the GX4000 gets a lot of stick. The Commodore console that was released was at the what was it called? The G4SC64GS or something. That was worse. That was way worse than GX4000. No one ever talks about that one, but that was rubbish. So thank you, Justin, for your questions. Next set of questions. Got a stack here from Pete, Snestastic. Thank you, Pete, for these. I know you added a few, and then you went back latterly and added a few more, but I've kind of bundled them all in together here. So the first one, do you plan on upgrading the Amiga 600? If so, what have you looked into? Nah, not really, mate. To be honest, I've got the compact flash all sorted, so I can play ROMs, which is good. I can just download it. Basically, what happens is, this is the simplified version. I've got an easy ADF kit, which I bought from AmigaKit.com, I think. That comes with a disc with all the software installed, and to enable me to do this. And it also came with a PCMICA card reader, but I had to buy separately a compact flash card. So what happens is you put the disc, or what happened with me, put the disc that they send me into the Amiga, it installs all the ADF software, and then what you do is you go onto like an Amiga website, you find the ROM that you want to download, which is usually just one file. It's not usually a folder with loads of stuff in there, just one file, the ADF, and what you do is you put your compact flash card into your computer or a card reader, so it comes up on your desktop, and then you drag the ADF into that file, you eject it, you take the compact flash from the card reader into the PCMICA card reader, and then you put that card reader with the compact flash into with it inside into the Amiga, and then it loads up in theory on your Amiga desktop, and then you can copy it to a blank disc, like we used to do in the old days, and then you play it. So that's what I wanted my Amiga to do. I know you can get the ones where the games are all installed on the hard drive, and that is super convenient. Absolutely. If you're into that, it's recommended. I totally get it. I know Tom, King Arthur, is massively in favour of it, as other people are. I totally get it. It makes a great deal of sense. It saves so much time, it's incredible, rather than individually copying discs, which is what I'm doing. But the reason why I do it the way I do it is because for me, if I had everything on my hard drive, because I've done this before, I'd play a game for 5 minutes and I'd get bored and then I'd play another game. If I had all the games there at my disposal, it would feel as if it's too much pressure. I just feel consumed by it all. A little bit like what I'd probably call like Spotify syndrome. You go on Spotify and you can listen to anything. Everything's there. Or YouTube. You name the song, you name the artist, everything's there. And I just get bored. If a song hasn't grabbed me within 30 seconds, I'm moving on to the next one. Whereas if I have my vinyl, where is it? There it is. Then I can put on a record and listen to it, and I'm forced to listen to it. I'm forcing myself to listen to it because it's significantly, obviously, much harder to skip a track on vinyl than it is on a CD, for that matter, or Spotify, the internet. And for me, that's what it is on the Amiga. I don't want everything there because I won't play it, I won't enjoy it. And doing it this way means I'm specifically copying games that I want to play because it takes longer. I mean, not long, to be honest. The whole process of downloading a ROM, putting it on a disc and playing it is probably 5 minutes, if that. It's really quick, but it's a bit of a hassle because it's taking things out, it's putting things in. But that's why I do it. In terms of other upgrades, Pete, no, I'm not interested, mate. I know they've got this vampire kit. Is that what you call it? I don't know what it does. I know you can really max out the Amiga to do some really clever stuff. You know, take it online and have the desktop looking great. And I'm just not really into that. I just want my Amiga to play games. That's all I want to do. Never say never for the future. Someone may point something out that the Amiga can do, and I might be like, do you know what? That looks cool. I want to do that. But for now, no plans whatsoever. It's just to play original discs and to play ADF games, i.e., like I've just said, copy them onto a blank disc and play them old school, like a proper pirate, as we all were back in the day. Question number 2, will you pick up any different joysticks, or is it Zipstick all the way? Oh, Zipstick is the greatest joystick ever. Did you hear that? Another bloody obnoxious truck. Sick of these trucks. If I was in charge, if I was the president, right, of America, not just would we be banning guns, anyone who's got a truck, you need a license. And I would be the one to determine whether you have that license or not. They're too loud. It's disgusting. You can tell you're knocking on and get like proper Victor Meldrew. Well, I'm not that old, obviously. But yeah, when you start complaining about stuff like that, it's, I love a good complaint. I love it. So, any different, yeah, Zipstick. For me, the Zipstick is the best joystick, but I had it with the Amstrad. So I've always had the Zipstick. I have had others. There was the Python, the Quickshot Python. My friend had that one initially. I think I might have stole it off him, to be honest. Well, borrowed, just never gave it back. So I know, Pete, you like the Cruiser, don't you? I'll put a picture of that on the screen. Yeah, I like the Cruiser as well. I've never had it, but I always wanted it. I remember seeing it in the magazines, and it looked really cool. I really wanted to get it, but I didn't end up getting it in the end. But I do want to get it, and I will eventually. But yeah, for me, for now, forever, probably, Zipstick will always be my number one joystick. Question number 3. What are your top 5 most expensive games you would like to buy across all of your systems? Yeah, I struggle with these kind of top 5 questions, really. But I've wrote down a few. How many have I wrote down here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... Well, 6 kind of 5. Turrican 1 and 2. So if you want to count that as 1 or 2, it's up to you. I guess technically it's 2 games, isn't it? On the Super Nintendo. Now, in my last pickup vid, I think I showed Turrican on the Amiga, which is brilliant. I'm really enjoying it. I used to love it on the Amstrad, used to love it on the ST and the Amiga, and I'm enjoying it again. It's a really good game. Music's fantastic. It's fun. I love the old stuff. It's my kind of thing. 16-bit, my era, so I'm loving it. But I do want to get it on the SNES. But Turrican on the SNES is around about, it's going to be another truck going by. Not as loud, so I'll let that one slide. But yeah, there's Turrican on the SNES is around about 100, in good condition, about 150 quid. Turrican 2, 250 quid. It's a lot of money. I'm just not prepared to spend that. Not right now. Never say never. Sunset Riders. I would actually prefer to get Sunset, or prioritise Sunset Riders on the Mega Drive, but even that price has racked up in recent years. That's still going to cost about 60 odd quid, but the SNES version, you're looking at 200-300. It's ludicrous. So, but that's what I want. Final Fight on the SNES, very expensive. Final Fight 2 and 3, I mean, are just super expensive. Street Fighter 2 Alpha, that's going to be another 150-200 quid game. So, there's that one. Loom on the Amiga. I really want to get Loom. I remember buying Loom back in about 95. Again, it was quite a late release. It may have come out 94 time, maybe even 95. I think it was 94. And, but I just didn't really know what to do. I was stuck. It was a bit too confusing for me back when I was a kid or a youth, I guess. But it's a very expensive game, and I would like to get that one. There's a stack of others. Off the top of my head, there's one called... did I even mention this recently? Stormlord 2 Deliverance, which I'm going to talk about Stormlord very briefly in a bit for another question. Yeah, Stormlord 2 Deliverance is quite a pricey one. Maupiti Island is another expensive one. I want to get that. That's over 100 quid on the Amiga. The ST one's pretty expensive too. So yeah, there's a few. So anybody watching, there's my Christmas list. Thank you very much. I'm joking, obviously. Question number 4. Did you like pop music in the 90s? If so, who did you listen to? Well, at the turn of the 90s, I did, because as I touched upon, I was 12 in 1990, turned 13. Oh, hang on, no, I was 11 in 1990 and turned 12. So I was still a kid, and so I was into all that kind of late 80s, early 90s, if we're specifically talking 90s, pop music. Kylie, Jason, they were doing the rounds. Bros was still doing the rounds, I guess, just about. New Kids on the Block. Yeah, I loved all that kind of stuff. But then very quickly, the early 90s, I started liking things like Guns N' Roses. Was probably the first big band I was into. Then closely followed by Nirvana. Then I discovered things like, in 92, Suede, and early Blur, The Verve. And then it got to maybe, well, not maybe, it got to the mid-90s, like 94. And I started to get into the Britpop thing, which was just kicking off. But before that, 93 time, I absolutely loved the kind of, the indie alternative scene, which morphed, I guess, technically into Britpop. And then I didn't really, from the mid-90s to the late 90s, I didn't listen to a lot of pop music, like, you know, boy bands, girl bands, all that kind of stuff, just generic pop stuff, because I was so engrossed in the Britpop scene in terms of my attitude, my clothes, my fashion, which clothes, the same thing, I guess, my everything. I was absorbed into that world. If you didn't like Britpop music, you were a nut job. Why don't you like Britpop? You must be mad. I couldn't work my head around it, or wrap my head around it. It was weird. So all my friends, pretty much all of them, obviously there was exceptions, but most of them liked that same kind of music. So no, I didn't really listen to a lot. I was aware of things, obviously, like the Spice Girls and whoever else for that matter, but I didn't really listen to it. But the early 90s, absolutely. Eternal. I used to like Eternal, if you remember. Well, I know Pete, you'll remember those. They were pretty good. But really as well, I was still, even though I didn't listen to it, I didn't go out my way to listen to it. It was still on TV, so I would still catch it. And my sister's 7 years younger, so of course she was really into all that. So I'd hear it all the bloody time. But I didn't buy it. But I kind of liked it to a degree, but you're at that age where you couldn't be seen to admitting to like it to your friends. So I didn't buy it. But I liked it somewhat. I just didn't listen to it too much, other than it being forced on me by my sister. But yeah, so I kind of said yes and no to that. Next question. It's another truck. What is this? It's unbelievable. I'll start again. What do you see as the future of your channel? Are you content continuing as is until YouTube removes all of us hobbyists? I tell you what would make me laugh is if you can't even hear these trucks, and it's just like silence and me just complaining every 30 seconds. But trust me, it's so bloody obnoxious. Sick of it. So another one. I tell you what, if it happens again, I'm going out there and I'm going mental. Not really. The content of my channel, the future of my channel, it's just what it is, to be honest, mate. I've toyed with the idea of maybe, well, in fact, I have scaled back with the football vids, but I nearly made one the other day after City beat Leicester, hammered Leicester, but I didn't make one. And then I nearly made one the other day when City beat Basel 4-0, but I didn't make one there. So I will get back into the football things. Not every game, I'm not going to do that. But I like the fact that my channel is eclectic. I haven't made a video for the past 2 weeks. The last one I made was a Friday Brew. So what I don't want is to have a vlog, followed by a vlog, followed by a vlog. I want to do other stuff. I'm still going to continue on this channel doing the music stuff. I'm going to do the Games X magazine stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do about the diary, because I've got December of 95 to do. Do I wait until December, or should I just do it now and get it out of the way and then move on and do other stuff? I may do that. And then, of course, there's the pickups, the vlogs, whatever else for that matter. I'm still going to continue ultimately doing what I do because I like that eclecticism. I think there's nobody subscribed to my channel who is surprised with that. And that's what I kind of like, the fact that I'm a little bit unusual, because most people in the gaming community, not everybody again, but most people are gaming channels. Most people subscribe to me are gaming channels, but I'm one of, I think, of the very few who kind of buck that trend. And the chances are I'll upload a gaming related vid, but it could be a football vid, it could be a music vid, it could be a vlog, which is kind of gaming related, but it incorporates other things as well. And I personally, and it's my channel, you know, we've got to like doing it. I like the fact that I can be eclectic, because if I was just a gaming channel, I've said this before, I personally would have got bored a long, long time ago. So the fact that I can do a lot of different things, for me, prolongs the channel. So yeah, basically the future of the channel, Pete, is just more of what it is. Maybe incorporate other things as time goes on. But we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Question number 6. What were your favourite cartoons in the 80s? Looking at the time, this is going to go on way longer than the last vid. The classics, I guess, really. The He-Man, the Thundercats. What else? Dungeons and Dragons, used to really like that. Even things like Inspector Gadget, Trapdoor. That's a good one. I'm trying to think what else. There's so many. All the classics, quite frankly. I'm sure I'm missing out some really obvious ones. Danger Mouse, Super Ted. Everything you probably would have watched, and most people watching this, I watched as well. But number 7. What were your favourite TV shows in the 80s? A-Team, Knight Rider, Street Hawk. That was the Yorkshire version. We'll watch a bit of Street Hawk, Airwolf, etc. Yeah, well, you've just named some classics there. I've wrote down a few others here that I can remember, like The Fall Guy, Chips, and that started in the 70s, but it carried on through to the 80s. Magnum P.I., Manimal, where he changed into like different animals. That didn't, I think it was like one season that lasted, but I remember it as a kid. So there's all that stuff. Now, all the classic for me, especially when we're talking, when you say favourite TV shows, and then you listed a load of kind of action shows, so that's what I'll stick with for this answer. As I say, Fall Guy, Chips, Magnum, Manimal, they were all kind of very action-orientated, and they were all American. America did the best action shows, without question. Without question in the 80s. All the best action ones were American. I used to love, there's loads more as well. MacGyver, I think I caught once or twice. I've watched more of that as an adult than as a kid. So there's that one. What's the other? Oh, God, can't remember. It just came to me and it disappeared. But there's so many. But then I've listed a few British ones, which were good as well, but they were different. Things like Dempsey and Makepeace. I used to love that. I was shocked to see when I checked earlier on, that lasted for 1 year, 85 to 86. I just thought, in your head, that Mandela effect. In my head, I thought that went on a lot longer, but no, obviously not. Minder, Lovejoy. Who doesn't like bloody Lovejoy? It's brilliant. I know it went on into the 90s, as did Minder. I guess The Sweeney, that was a good one as well. So yeah, if we're going to talk about action shows, that's the kind of stuff I was into. The Equalizer, that was pretty good. That was Edward Woodward, one of the best names ever. Loads of stuff, all that kind of Cagney and Lacey. It's all coming back to me. Loads of stuff. Question number 8. What are your favourite American curses, swear words, that you've heard whilst living there? To be honest, I can't really think of anything that sticks out. But the funniest one is more of like a kind of a hand gesture, a gesticulation, if you like. And it's one that my wife told me. And I think it would have been from like the late 80s or early 90s. It's so American. You can imagine it being used on like Saved by the Bell or something like that. And it's this, loser. So if someone's talking a load of rubbish, it's like, loser. Look away and do the L and just walk away. And there's one which takes it to an extreme. And it's something, I might have this wrong, if you're American and you're watching this, especially if you're kind of Californian, maybe more of a California thing, to be honest. But apparently it's this. So if someone's talking bollocks, you go up to me, you go like that, and that signifies the W. It's kind of a W there. That is what I'm roughly doing. So you go, whatever, loser, and walk away. And it's so stupid. It's so American. It's so dismissive. But I just found it funny. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just easily amused. So that's what I'll say, quite frankly. So that, thank you, people, for the questions. Dylan Craven, whose dad is John Craven. True story. Not really. John Craven's news round. Who doesn't remember that? So thank you, Dylan, for these. I say not really. It might be your dad. Is John your dad, Dylan? The John Craven. Anyway, I'm being stupid. Question number 1. As someone that is thinking of starting a channel in the future, what advice do you have? I'm not sure I'm the one to give advice. Something along the lines of finding a style, a niche, and an audience, etc. If that makes sense. Yes, mate, it does make sense. But first, Swiggity. Yeah, I mean, so I've been making videos for about 7 years, 7, 8 years, and I've only, but I'm not complaining because I'm thoroughly appreciative, I've only got like 1,500 subscribers, so it's not a lot. But what I'd say is, firstly, you have to want to make the vids. You've got to, don't feel forced. If you try and force a video, you'll get bored. I made a pickup vid, the one that is on my channel from like 2 weeks ago. That is the second attempt at making it. I had actually, between you and me, don't tell anyone else, just our little secret, I had made another vid, and I watched it back, and it was like 15 minutes, which is unusual for me, as this vid is testifying. But even for a pickup vid, they usually, for me, go on for about about 30, 40 minutes. But that one was 15 minutes, and I just wasn't in the mood. It's not that I was in a bad mood, I just wasn't in the mood to make a vid. I was forcing it. Now, I watched the video back before I was gonna upload it, and you would never have been able to tell that I just wasn't in the mood. But as I was making it, I could tell that I wasn't. You know when you know. If you make videos, you know what I mean. You're talking and you're thinking, I'm not really into this. And I could have stopped the video at any second, but I kept on ploughing through it. And I made the video. I showed what I bought. But I just sped through the games, hence 15 minutes. I wasn't really talking about them, not elaborating too much. It was almost a case of, yeah, got this one, it was quite cheap and it's pretty good. Got this one, and I never do that. I never do that. I always talk about why I bought something, maybe how much it cost, why I bought it, what it means to me, what I think of it, nostalgia, all that kind of stuff. There's always a story with me. I can't shut up. You know, I love talking on vid. That's why the videos are so long. I enjoy it. I enjoy making the YouTube vids. But I wasn't enjoying that one, and I watched it back and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to upload that because it's just, I'm not feeling it. So I just deleted it, and I made another one, which is the one that you see on my channel from 2 weeks back. And I felt it more. It felt more natural. So that's the one I went with. So that's what I'd say. Mate, you've got to be in the mood. You've got to want to make the vids. You've got to be in the mood. Don't force anything. Don't worry about what other people think. Don't worry about getting negative comments or dislikes, because unfortunately, it probably will happen. I see some of the nicest people in the world that I'm subscribed to, and all they're doing is a pickup vid. They're not controversial. They're not swearing. They're not coming across as arrogant. They're just being nice and friendly, and you look down at the dislikes, and they could have, in some cases, many. And you think, why? I don't get it. And it always annoys me in a way, because it makes me think, I hope that person doesn't look at their dislikes and think, you know what, I don't want to make vids again. And they may stop making vids as a result. That bloody truck's just gone by. I tell you what, I'm going to snap in a minute. But they may stop making vids as a result of people's negativity, because of the anonymity that YouTube brings. That's such a shame. So you've got to be thick-skinned. That's what I'll say. You've got to be thick-skinned. You are going to get the occasional silly comments. Don't respond. I know I used to. I really did used to. And I'd have arguments in the comment sections and everything. But that was years ago. Not anymore. Just delete the comment, block the user, forget about it. Just move on. It's so important. You've got to do that. Be the better person. You can reply sometimes in banter and stuff, but don't start getting in an argument. That's what I'd say. But yeah, you've got to want to do it. You've got to have a love for what you're doing. And you've got to be prepared in this day and age for your channel to be potentially, because there's always exceptions again, naturally, but you've got to be prepared for your channel to be a very slow burning channel. You know, not many subscribers after X amount of time. The 2 channels, again, that I mentioned at the start of the video, they don't have many. Again, check them out. Subscribe if you like them, which you should. But they've been making videos for a while. They don't have a lot of subscribers. It's hard to get people watching your vids in this day and age. So bear that in mind. You've got to want to make vids. You've got to interact. People don't understand this. It staggers me. You know, you've got to make your channel known. Don't just rely on people just so happen to who will just happen to stumble upon your channel. you've got to put yourself out there. Comment on people's vids regularly so they get to know you. I can't remember who it was, but someone left a comment on my channel, relatively recently. And in my head, I thought, you know what? That person's left about 20 comments now. I'm going to click on their channel. I've never done it before because they were still quite new. And I clicked on their channel and they had a load of vids. And they had some quite good stuff, so I subscribed. And here's the other thing. Just because you subscribe to someone, don't be offended if they don't subscribe to you. Because you may do things that just aren't their cup of tea. Even if it's gaming related. People subscribe to me and I've clicked on their channel and they could have had loads of like repair kind of vids, DIY. Even if it's gaming, arcade stuff. That's not really my thing. It's not really my bag. So I can click on their channel and I can go, that's kind of cool, but it's not something I'd really watch. So me not subscribing to their channel is not me saying I don't like them or I think they're an idiot. It's just like, I'm not really going to watch that stuff. So it's never anything personal. So that's what I'd say to that one, mate. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. If you're nervous about uploading a vid, then maybe before you upload it, watch it back and see what you think. And then just put it out there. But interaction is so crucial. You've got to let people know you're out there repeatedly. Don't be like, oh, click on my vid, watch my... Don't force it down people's necks. But just regularity, pacing your videos out. If you've got no subscribers or a small amount and you're whacking out the videos, you might get disillusioned because you're not getting a lot of subscribers, but you're putting all this time and effort in. So try and pace it out. Every time you get like a subscriber or two, maybe put a video out and do it that way. It's hard to gauge, I get that. You've kind of got to just see how it goes and just let it naturally kind of unfold. But if you're thinking about doing it, 100% do it. 100% you have to do that, Dylan. So that's what I'd say. Question number 2. I was also wondering if you have ever thought about packing it in, and if you did, what made you carry on? Oh, let's have a drink before this one. So packing in YouTube. Yes, but not so much packing it in, more of taking extended breaks. Yeah, always, regularly. Between you and me, again, just us, and everybody watching, that was going to be what I was thinking of doing at the turn of the year, for the end of the year. What I wanted to do, because I was cramming in all the diary vids, I think I did September, October, November, rapidly. And then the idea was to do December. Then I could finish the diary, and then I could have a bit of a break. I didn't know how long. It could have been a few days, a few weeks, a few months. It could have been longer. That was going to be the plan. And of course, I didn't do the diary vid, which makes it seem as if it's like unfulfilled, and I've now got to do that. So then a new year starts, and here I am again. But I'm kind of enjoying it again now. But 100%, this is the other thing. You are going to, I am anyway, and I regularly go through phases of thinking, do you know what, I can't be bothered. I might take a break. And I can get so disillusioned with YouTube that I do. I don't watch a vid for a few days or a week or more. I certainly don't make one for a week or two, or whatever it may be. But I think the longest that I've ever gone on my channel, and it's happened quite a few times, there's several instances of me having maybe a couple of months break at a time, but every time I've come back. And I think I come back because I like it. I like the fact that it's my channel. I can talk about whatever I want. If people subscribe and like it, brilliant. But if they don't, so what? I really don't care. I'm too old to care. I've been making videos too long to care. Again, I've only, and I'm not complaining, but only got 1,500 subscribers. So it's not like a great deal of obligation I've got to satisfy millions of people. So it's very much on my terms. So, and I tell you what doesn't help as well sometimes. It's when other people that I'm subscribed to, friends of mine on YouTube who don't make videos as well, when you see that they're not making vids, that can make you not want to make vids. So we're all in this together, really. So if you see someone making a vid that you like, you should make a vid, and it gets the ball rolling again. Because if we all take the stance of, well, no one's making vids, then no one's going to make any vids. So you've got to want to do it. And even though I do get disillusioned from time to time, probably because I've been doing it for so long, ultimately, once I've had a few days or a week or two, or a month or two, or whatever it is, I usually do come back refreshed, with the batteries recharged, and I'm in the mood again. Like right now, I'm in the mood again to start making vids. But it definitely comes and goes. Do not, this is another tip, this is my tip anyway, do not delete your channel. People, it's too easy. It's so easy, and you can delete your channel like a couple of clicks of a button. Don't do that. If you're feeling disillusioned, if you're feeling bored, keep your videos there. Just have a break. You don't have to log in. And then a week, 2 month or 2, a year, or whatever it may be later, the channel is still there. It's not going to go anywhere. Yes, people may have unsubscribed, but that's not your problem. They can always resubscribe. But yes, don't delete your channel. It's too easy to do, and it's so definitive. Once you've done it, there's no going back. So I think I answered that one. Question number 3 from Dylan. Do you ever think there will be a time where you no longer buy modern games as physical releases and go digital instead? I've kind of already started to do that, to be honest, Dylan. And I've bought digital games for a long time. So to me, it's not a problem. I can buy digital games. On the PS4, like I said, I recently bought Star Wars Battlefront. Well, that probably just sounds the same, actually, when I hear that back. I bought FIFA 18 digitally. Again, it was on sale for like $25, $30. Battlefield 4, I've got as a digital game. Call of Duty World War II is a digital game. Not Battlefield 4. Battlefield, listen to this. It's another one. State of that. It's the same one. They're doing it on purpose to wind me up. Battlefield 1 is the one that I've got. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to go to jail. Not really. But yeah, Battlefield 1. So I've got a lot of digital games. And I don't mind it. I love the convenience. I know a lot of people will say, come on, mate, you've been a bit lazy. All you've got to do is go to a shelf, unclip the box, take the disc out, put it in. Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of work. But you have no idea, unless you do have an idea. But those who don't have no idea how simple it is, how convenient it is just to have the PS4, for example, on the menu screen, and just the game is there staring at you. Just click on the button, it's there. It's so easy. So yes, mate, one day I can see myself going fully digital with modern games. With retro games, different kettle of fish, because I buy for nostalgia. I will always buy boxed Amiga games, in the future maybe Amstrad games, Atari ST. I'm sure I'll continue with things like the SNES and the Mega Drive. Nostalgic stuff is crucial to me, that it's got to be boxed. I don't mind emulating to a degree, but I will always want to own a physical version. But with modern games, there's no nostalgic kind of childhood nostalgia to it. So it doesn't bother me. So yes, in an ideal world, I guess I'd prefer a physical one, but that's probably just because I'm on like an autopilot. But more and more, I'm coming around to digital games to the point where I don't mind doing it, hence the examples I've just given. So we've got the Football Channel HD. Matt, you've changed your channel name quite a few times. Used to be Panini someone, and then you were Matt with a stack of numbers. I don't know what they were. Question number, there's kind of 2 questions, sort of. Do you think Manchester City will win the lot this season? Obviously, mate, of course. I said at the start of my video when I was making regular football vids, and I will get back to making them, maybe not so much regularly, semi-regularly. But I said at the start of the reason, it was kind of in jest, but I was really serious as well at the same time. I said City are probably going to win everything. And I said it, it's there. Watch the vids. They're there, proof. It's so creative, scoring so many goals, creating so many chances, playing brilliant football, top of the league. The Premier League's pretty much won already. We all know that. So that's one in the bag. In the final of the League Cup, can't say City are going to win it. We'll have to wait and see. But in the final, so potentially there's another one in the bag straight away. Beat Basel the other day, 4-0, battered them in the Champions League. So pretty much through to the next stage in that one. And through to the 5th round of the FA Cup. So I tell you what, it's looking good. It's looking really good. And it is hard to disagree. Even if you're neutral, to say that City won't win the lot. But it's going to be a memorable season no matter what, to be honest. But yeah, I do think will win. I mean, who knows? Will. I don't know. Can win, absolutely. But I did say will win at the start of the season, so let's stick with it for good luck. Touch wood. Wait and see, get knocked out next round now. And lose the final League Cup. Imagine if City blew the league. Imagine that. That's not going to happen. The Premier League is in the bag, 100%. It's the best football I've seen at City. It's the best football I've seen in English football that I can remember. The closest I can think to it, there's probably 2 of them, and even then, one of them probably not really. I'm probably just basing it on their success, and that'd be United, when United were dominating. They had a couple of good teams in particular. The double of 94, could say the double of 96, and the treble of 99. That was more luck than anything else, that one. But fair enough. So there's that, and then there was the Liverpool team that blew everyone away. The famous game, Matt, you'll be aware, being a big football fan, is when Liverpool beat Forest 5-0 at Anfield in 89. It's 89. So I guess that would have been the 89-90 season when they won the league. Liverpool back then were frightening, but City are on a different planet. Frighteningly good football team. So yes, City will win the lot this season. And then his second question, and did you collect the football club's official catalogue? And then he mentions the Sunday stroll. The Sunday stroll, I can't remember in what context Matt mentioned it a video or two back, but he said something about having a Sunday stroll, and then I went, I'm having that for a title of a vid. Wednesday week, the Friday Brew, the Sunday stroll. It just sounds really good. I like that, Sunday stroll. So no one out there watching that can steal it, or you can if you want, but I like it. It's catchy. If you plan on making any walking vids on a Sunday, you have my permission, and Matt's, I'll speak for him, to have the Sunday stroll as your title. But yeah, anyway, did I collect? Well, no, I didn't collect them. I didn't collect any football club official catalogues. But yeah, I had a few. The only one I must have bought the odd thing here and there. The only one I can remember buying something from was in 1999, and I've got it. Not the actual one. Oh, they destroy everything. Dropped a few things. It would be this shirt here. Now, I've got a funny story about this very quickly. This shirt is an extra, extra, extra large. I'm not joking. Like, I can even see. I don't know if you can tell. I'm not an extra, extra. I'm a large. That's what I am. I'd like to think I'm a medium, but I'm probably kidding myself. Probably a large. Medium to large. Probably a large. But the reason why I got this, I just didn't think, it's so stupid. In the size tag, it says 46-48, which, like I say, I think is extra, extra, even extra large on top of that. I'm not sure. But it was on eBay. Someone in America was selling this about 5-6 years ago. And the starting price was $2. And it was like brand new, never worn. And it said 46-48. And I didn't twig. I just thought that I was being stupid. I used to work in Burton's. I used to work in a clothes shop. So I should have known. But it was $2. I was the only bidder. So I put a bid on it. And I won it with like $3 shipping. So like $5, I got it. And when it arrived, I put it on. And you could honestly fit like 3 of me in this. It's just ridiculous. And I'm not slim. But you could honestly fit like 3. It's so crazy. But I've kept hold of it. But anyway, the point is, do you know what? I might actually wear this on my next City vid, unless I put it on and it's really crazy, crazy baggy. But we'll see. I might put it on. You might not be able to tell. If I stand up, you'll tell, because it kind of goes down to my kneecaps. But yeah, the reason why I'm showing this is because in 1999, as you mentioned, Matt, about the catalogue, I bought this. I bought this summer of 1999. Obviously, City had moved away from, who was it? It was Kappa. I love the Kappa shirts. As you can see here, it's Le Coq Sportif and IDOS. Speaking of computers and stuff, Championship Manager and all that kind of stuff. IDOS were the sponsors, and we'd moved away from Brother, who we'd been with for a long, long time. And I really liked it. I loved that shirt this particular one when I first saw it, and I thought I've got to get it. And I think it was just before I got the internet, so I had the catalogue, which I got it every year. I can't remember, or maybe I bought it, or I can't remember how I got it. And I ordered it. I ordered it old school way, I guess. Check. Maybe give me mum some money, and then it arrived. It arrived with, I think, like a book. I can't remember what book I bought at the time. May have been a scarf. I know I bought it in like the height of summer, like June or July. But I was preparing for the end of the year. Just a standard blue and white scarf, and maybe some gloves as well, something like that. Can't remember. But I remember that arriving. I remember the day of it arriving, and my dad he's not into football at all. He's music, full on music. My dad was like, I like that shirt. And yeah, I like it as well. It's a good one. It's one of my favourites, really. Really like it. Back when City were absolutely appalling. I miss the days when City were rubbish. Don't get me wrong. I am lapping it up, all the success, because there'll come a day where it's not going to happen. It's a fact. As football goes in cycles. So initially, when all this success started, I was a little bit like, well, I'm not sure I like this. I'm not really happy with this. I want to go back to being in Division 3. But I've changed. I'm loving this. Because, as I say, it's not going to last, so I'm milking it while I can. That's my new kind of my new mentality towards it. But I do miss the days of old. You go on Twitter these days, and there's all the kids are supporting City, and trust me, that was not. I knew one other person, and even he was from Manchester when we were living in Bournemouth, called Robert Clark, and he was a City fan. But that was it. Didn't know any other. I think in my life of living in Poole and Bournemouth, and we moved down there when I was about 10. Or something. It's a bloody car. That was a quiet one. I'll let that one slide. But yeah, in my life, I can picture one person wearing a City shirt that wasn't me, or Robert for that matter. One person, and that was in like the height of the Britpop movements, and maybe they were just doing it because of Oasis and all that links. Or maybe they were from Manchester, or maybe they were just a City fan. I can't remember. But yeah, nowadays everybody supports them. But that's what it was like when I was a kid. People were Liverpool fans. People were Man United fans because kids jump on success. You can't blame them. I understand why it happens, but it's a little bit disillusional. I feel a little bit disillusioned sometimes. I'm too old to really care. But when I go on Twitter, for example, and all these kids, like from all corners of the country, supporting City, and it's like, come on, mate. Especially if you're in London. You've got Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea. Why do you want to support United or City or Liverpool? You've got all them teams to choose. If you come from somewhere which is quite remote, like the Orkney Islands, fine. Support Celtic, support United. I get all that. It makes sense to a degree. But if you've got a big, big club near you, there shouldn't be any need for that. That's my opinion anyway. But anyway, thank you, Matt, for the questions. Nintendo Arcade. Thank you, Alex. Are you in the bath watching this one? Like last time. Do you use your accent? Oh, this is an interesting one. Do you use your accent to your advantage in the USA, or do you dumb it down in certain situations, or do you think accents make some regions sound dumb? Yeah, I mean, it's unfair to say, but there are some accents that you listen to and you think, bloody hell, that sounds a bit, you know what I mean? It makes people sound a bit thick. Maybe people are listening to me thinking I sound a bit thick. I'm not, obviously. It's just a stereotype. It is very unfair, but I think, yeah, there are a few accents out there, particularly really broad kind of Yorkshire ones, or like Geordie, or that kind of stuff, or even like Cornwall accents, you know, like Cornish kind of twang. And I'm not judging people, but you sometimes do listen to it and you think, oh, I'm glad I've not got that accent. Apologies if you do. Or you're probably saying the same thing, or I'm glad I've not got yours. But mine's a weird accent, speaking of accents, Alex, because obviously, you know, living in Bournemouth for like 20 years and now living in America, I absolutely 100%, and I don't watch my videos back like some kind of like, you know, as if I'm arrogant, but like if I'm replying to a comment, and obviously the video's auto-play and I can hear it, and obviously before I upload it, I watch it back, so I can hear it, and my accent changes to a degree, and on YouTube I can hear it and I enunciate more, because I have to do that living in America. If I don't do that, enunciate my P's and my T's and really pronounce those letters, if I don't do it, I get a lot of blank stares. I really do. So through my daily life, I pretty much on a daily basis have to do that, whether I'm talking to a person face to face, or whether it's on the telephone, or even if I'm like kind of calling someone across the room, I feel like I have to get rid of my accent to a degree. I don't do an American accent. I don't do a James Corden or sell out ears. I don't do that. But I 100% hear myself talking. Even on YouTube videos, I feel like I'm doing it now. I feel like I'm enunciating. And it doesn't sound natural. But because I've been doing it for a long time, and because I live in America, it kind of just morphs into the way I speak. It's weird. But when I'm with family, and on YouTube, when I'm getting into a bit of a rant, and I'm getting passionate or emotional, or it's something I love talking about, I can hear my accent coming out, like proper northern kind of thing. You'd be the best judge for that, mate, all of you watching, as to how it comes across. But yeah, if I feel I'm talking about something that I love, definitely comes out. But if the longer I talk about something, especially where, you know, especially in America, my accent changes. It definitely changes. Not so much the accent changes, the pronunciation definitely changes, without question. Pronunciation. Pay your money, take your choice. I think technically it's pronunciation, isn't it? Whatever. But do I use it to my advantage? Oh, yeah. You better believe it, mate. Absolutely. I'm not even going to lie. But at the same time, maybe this might just be a personal thing, but sometimes if I'm like in the queue, in line, I nearly went American there. If I'm in line at a grocery store, supermarket, and there's a lot of people behind me, I've got to be 100% honest. I kind of change. Sometimes I kind of like the fact that people are going to hear my accent and might be impressed. And not everybody will be. Some people won't be impressed at all. Some people won't care in the slightest. But sometimes I also feel very self-conscious about it because I don't want to stick out like a sore thumb. I kind of want to blend in. I don't want to be the one who sticks out. So sometimes when people will talk to me, like the person at the checkout, I'll maybe keep my answers quite short. It depends, really. It depends what mood I'm in. So sometimes I want the attention, and I love it, and sometimes I don't. But there's no hiding it. I've seen it in queues, in lines, where people are just standing there looking down, just doing their usual thing all around the world. It's the same. They're behind me just thinking, oh, they look at the floor thinking, God, hurry up. And then I'll say something, and I can see them. They look up, their ears kind of prick up. And because it's unusual, you know, even though I'm in California, you know, I'm not in LA, I'm not in San Francisco, I'm not too far from San Francisco, but it's slightly more remote in regards to having people from outside the area. So I definitely stick out like a sore thumb, but I can't deny, mate, even though I do sometimes get a bit embarrassed about it, because I want to kind of blend in, I 100% do use it to my advantage. I mean, I'm married, so obviously I don't use my advantage, that advantage when it comes to girls or anything. Top 5 box art from any console or computer game, and why? Well, I'm going to stick to games that I've got, so that limits straight away a load of choices I could do. Why? Pretty much nostalgia is the reason for all of them, really. So the first one will be Street Fighter 2, a game that I think I mentioned in a recent vid. Could have been my last vlog. It just takes me back, Alex, and everyone else watching for that matter. Takes me back to that bygone era. I love this game on the arcade. I was obsessed with it. All my friends, we couldn't wait to get a Super Nintendo. I'll say all of them. Some of us, a few of us, couldn't wait to get a Super Nintendo at Christmas of '92. I was one that did. And this game is so amazing. It's just indicative of the early 90s for me. I absolutely love it. I can't not look at the graphics, the screenshots, not look at the front cover, not even just see or hear the title, Street Fighter 2, and it just takes me back. I adore it, so that's the reason for that one. Let's lob that down there. Next one up is Streets of Rage. Not just is it, of course, a nostalgic title, as they all are, but what I love about this, it just sums up an era for me, you know, with the artwork of quite cheesy in a way, but also it tells a story, not just if you've got the main character who you initially look at there, giving someone a bit of a belting, bit of a hiding, but then you've got the other person there, but in the background there's other people doing other things. And that's the thing about a lot of the old artwork. You can really look into it and you can see something new almost every time. I was just looking at artwork earlier on. I was like looking at the people shooting out of the window and seeing another window kind of like boarded up, and it was like, you know, I've never really noticed that before. There's someone up there. Are they rescuing someone? Are they about to throw something out the window? I don't know what it is. I've never really noticed it before because it's in the background where all this is in the foreground. So this is what you see. You know, when I think of Street of Rage or Street of Rage 2, I think of the main characters. I don't really think of what's in the background. So I love that about old games. There's a lot of artwork in the background, which a lot of detail, basically. Attention to detail. So that's why I choose that one. The next one up, I'll save that to last, actually, because that's probably my most nostalgic one I currently own, at least. Next one is Stormlord. I just used to love the colours more than... This one's on the ST, as you can see down there. I used to love the colours more than anything else. The grey, the black, the charcoal, the electric kind of light blue, which is appropriate cover, like the storm and the electricity bolt kind of going through it. The box is all blue. It just looked really, really nice. And the artwork itself, as in the figure, isn't amazingly drawn, but it's pretty good. But it just sounded cool as a kid, Stormlord, and the colours, the sky blue for me and all that kind of stuff. It was just an instant winner. The game itself is okay. It's not amazing, but it's but the artwork, I do like it. Next up is, I don't look at this artwork and think, oh, I really love that. It's just amazing. It's kind of amazing in the sense that it's unique, I guess, more than loving it. And it's Agony on the Amiga. And it's just incredibly kind of evocative, really. Quite scary to look at. You know, it just forces you to ask a load of questions, like, what the hell is it? What does it do? Why? It doesn't really give a lot away, you know, but the title, Agony, and then you see that thing. It's just brilliant artwork, really, but quite intriguing. And if you look closely at it as well, you see that the treetop's on its head. So is it like a land? So is it a monster? Is it a land? Is it a monster which is formed as part of the land? People think they're on like a normal ground, but really it's a monster that comes up. Again, it's that whole thing about artwork and being immersed into it and it telling a story and it being very much kind of open to interpretation. So I love that. But probably my most nostalgic video, this vid's going to go on for too bloody long. This is my longest vid, but my most nostalgic game, I should say, cover art that I currently own will be this one. The game itself is pretty average. It's Turbo Outrun, but the artwork, the colours. Now, what makes this extra special to me is I remember looking at this, maybe in a copy of Amstrad Action, actually, is when I first saw it. And you know when they had the full colour kind of adverts? So it was a full page of this artwork. And I remember seeing it in what would have been, when did it come out? 1989. So yeah, it would have been the time of when I had my Amstrad. So it could have been Amstrad Action from the summer of like 89 or the summer of 1990. And I remember seeing it. And, you know, I guess because when I was, that mental image is burned into the back of my mind forever of it being literally the summer of 89 or 90 and it being hot outside and then seeing this and the colours representing the warmth. And it takes me back, it just reminds me of being summer. It looks so summery. It's such a warm kind of game because of the colours, like I say. And so it just takes me back every time I look at it. The artwork itself is okay as such, but it's more the colours, the vibrancy of it, and that nostalgic connection. So it's an incredibly personal kind of thing to me. You know, even though the game itself is not very good, it's not one that I would ever put in the top 50 or top 100. I probably would forget to even mention it. But just the actual artwork, the spines, again, as I say, the colours, it's something incredibly nostalgic about it. So as a result, that would be my favourite kind of artwork as a complete package for that game. So that's what I'd say. Any more questions? I think that's it, isn't it? Oh no, one more question from Alex. What do you want from Nintendo Online Service when launched in September? Well, I don't know a great deal about it, but what I heard a while back is that they are, understandably I guess, going to charge. Now, that's a shame. It would have been nice if they didn't, and they still may not. I've not seen an update. But if they are going to charge, I'd love to see it be a really small fee, very, very small, to the point of maybe just being a couple of dollars or something, if that, to be honest. For me, I wouldn't charge at all. That would really be a positive step. But I do understand, to keep up with everyone else, they've kind of got to do it to a degree. So what do I want to see? I'd want to see no charge or a very small charge. And also when it comes to digital games, maybe they could be the forerunners to having digital games at a severely reduced price. But I guess that could be difficult to do because they may have to do it in conjunction with the developers, with publishers, and they may not want their games released at a loss, unless Nintendo were prepared to take that loss on board themselves. And I don't think they'd want to do that. But in an ideal world, I'd love to see digital games being really, really cheap, within reason. Like, to give you the choice, like, I recently picked up Skyrim on the Switch, so it was like $50. The retail's like $60. So maybe on the Nintendo store, for example, to encourage you to download digitally, they can have it for $30, half the price. And if that game in real life comes down in price to, say, $40, then the online virtual store will be reflective of reality, and they can bring it down to $20. So that's what I'd like to see. I think that's one of my big problems with digital games, is that the pricing is all over the place. Most people are not going to want to choose to buy a digital game for the same price as they would a retail physical copy. Myself included, even though there have been quite a few exceptions. So they really need to do that. And I'd love to see Nintendo kind of grab that by the horns and be the ones to move forward. Because if they do that, it will force Sony and Microsoft to do the same. You know, I know Sony and Microsoft have really good sales from time to time. Absolutely, I can't deny that. Some stunning sales, really, on giving away games like $3, $4, $5. Proper games, I bought them. Thief, I think, was like $2. What else did I buy? Dirt Rally or something for like $4. So they do have amazing sales, but I just want them to be more regular, appear with a lot more regularity, and I'd love to see Nintendo do that. So apart from that, mate, I can't really think of. Did I just say mate? All right, mate. See my accent. Just went a bit Janet Street Porter on everyone. But apart from that, yeah, I do want to see. I do want to see just Nintendo do a lot of things that maybe others aren't doing, just to the benefit of gamers, really, quite frankly. So, but we'll see. I've not really looked into it, to be honest, Alex, so I can't tell. This may be something that you should cover on your vid, because you've been a massive Nintendo fan, obviously. It'll be interesting to hear what you've got to say about it, actually. So, yeah, that's my challenge to you. Talk about it on an upcoming vid. I'd like to know where we're at with Nintendo and what you want to see, and what everyone else wants to see as well. So that's that. AdiSneakerFreak, thank you, Steve. Your favourite 90s sitcom? I think for me, there's a stack of them. This isn't, I'll save the best to last. It's probably predictable. But I used to love stuff, still do, always will. Keeping Up Appearances, Blackadder, Faulty Towers, One Foot in the Grave, classic stuff. Most of it British is what I tend to like. When it comes to action things, as we touched upon before, I love the American stuff first. But when it comes to comedies, sitcoms, for me, it's British all the way. Head and shoulders above everything else. There's a stack of others I could mention, but obviously it's got to be Only Fools and Horses. It's one of the very few shows that I can repeatedly watch. I couldn't watch it back to back, like the same episode. There'd have to be a substantial amount of time before I'd see it again. But I can watch it again. There's something, I don't know, it encapsulates that era so perfectly. That kind of zeitgeist, and they're so real, the characters. They've got so much in common with kind of all of us. And it's so charming, it's heartwarming, it's funny. It's timeless, even though in a way it's kind of stuck in an era. But at the same time, it's kind of timeless. It's weird. It sums up the UK. It just sums up Britain, I think. From Land's End to John O'Groats. It just sums up the whole country. And that's probably why most people like it. Pretty much if there's a list of the top 10 sitcoms ever, certainly when it comes to, British ones, then Only Fools and Horses are going to be number one. And if it isn't, then to me it's always because someone's just trying to be a bit edgy, trying to be a bit different. But for 99% of people, 9 out of 10, whatever you will, for me, it's got to be Only Fools and Horses. I've got to say that, quite frankly. So thank you for that one, Steve. And then the last set of questions, there's 3. We're going to wrap this up within 2 hours. Hey, did it. These questions are from FlyingLure. Is that how you pronounce your name? I'm just looking. Maybe I wrote it down rightly. Wrote it down wrongly, maybe. But a new subscriber, thank you very much. I think you said in your comment, I've not got it in front of me, but like a long-term viewer, first-time comment leaver or something. Thank you for that. Just goes to show, doesn't it, that people do watch, but not everybody comments. And then someone can leave a comment and you've never heard of them before, and it transpires they've been watching for a long, long time. So that's always nice. So thank you to you in particular. Don't know your name. I presume it's not Flying. But thank you to you. And to anyone else who's maybe watching who's never left a comment. Obviously, I appreciate everybody who subscribes and watches. It's the reason, really, why I make vids. That's an addition that I could give to, was it Dylan who said earlier on about YouTube and why you make videos and all that kind of stuff? Part of it is because of the interaction. A lot of people say, I've heard this so many times, it's drivel, it really is. But people go, if I wasn't getting any views, if I didn't have any subscribers, I'd still be making vids. No, you wouldn't, mate. No, you wouldn't. You'd soon stop. Believe you me. You may for a certain amount of time, but eventually you'd be like, do you know what? I'm not getting anyone watching this. I'm not getting anyone commenting. I'm not getting any subscribers. You would get bored eventually. So having subscribers and having views and comments and interaction is so crucial. In this day and age, I think comments are becoming a little bit less important because of how we're watching vids, i.e. like phones and iPods and through televisions and consoles and all that kind of stuff. It's harder to type a comment. So maybe we shouldn't get offended or worry if we don't get as many comments. Maybe more than ever, views are quite important. If you're not getting a lot of comments, but you're getting a lot of views, take that as a positive. People are still watching. So that's what I'd say there. But anyway, I'm answering a question from an hour ago. So, first set of questions here. First question in a series of 3. Favourite video game show back in the day? Well, for me, there was only 2 that I ever watched. And there was Games Master and Bad Influence. And quite frankly, you could toss a coin. Games Master came first by the best part of a year, almost a year, I think. So I'd probably say that, but I'd be basing that just on the fact that it was the first one. But I really did like Bad Influence. Andy Crane, Violet Berlin, I did like him. What was that guy called? Was that Namrod? Namu? I can't remember what you called him. It was something like that. He was annoying, but he was kind of funny as well. So I liked that. And then there was another show. I think it came when I was like in my late teens. And was it on Sky? And there was like 2 guys on there and 2 black guys on there. And then there was, I think it would break away to like someone in like a hood, like as if he was like kind of a monk or something. And I found him I can't remember anything he would have said, but I remember at the time finding him quite funny. I'd have to watch it back and maybe it isn't all these years later. But by the time that show came along, I was probably in my late teens or early 20s. So I wasn't really watching it. But Games Master and Bad Influence for me. And I can't even remember what you call that other one. I'm sure it was on like Sky or something. But yeah, Games Master and Bad Influence for me were the ultimate. And you really could toss a coin as to which one I preferred. So it'd be one of those 2. Today I'll say Games Master. But then ask me another day, it'll be Bad Influence, and then I'll just rotate them, quite frankly. Question number 2, favourite music video of the 90s. Well, I mean, I don't have a favourite video. I mean, you know, there's so many, it's ridiculous. George Michael, Freedom, that would have been 90s, I think, wouldn't it? That's a really good video. I love how he wasn't in the vid, the whole record dispute at the time, yet it's still so kind of iconic with all the supermodels that were in at the time. That's a really good vid. Something like Jamiroquai, Virtual Insanity, which is a brilliant vid. I remember seeing it for the first ever time. I think, oh, looks amazing. He timed it to perfection. You know, with all the moving and the furniture moving about and him doing his dancing and all that kind of stuff. That was pretty cool. The Verve, Bittersweet Symphony, brilliant, iconic. Walking down the street, Richard Ashcroft kind of bumping into people. A very, very iconic video and song for that matter. Really sums up the late 90s, 97 in particular. When I think of 1997, that is one of the first things I think of automatically. So I'll say that. I guess. And then last but not least, your most memorable TV advert from the 80s or 90s. Well, again, I've not got one that I actually absolutely defined. Oh, that is my favourite. There's thousands. Who doesn't remember, if you're around about my age, J.R. Hartley, which is quite sad in a way. He was the author of the book, of course, and he was calling all these book shops up to see if they had his book in store. That was a good one. Other Yellow Pages ads were the kid getting his bike and the guy, which would have been the dad, kind of the curtain twitching as his kid looks up. Like, really sad, but nice, nostalgic. The train sets, another Yellow Pages one. Yellow Pages used to have a lot of good adverts. It didn't encourage you to get out the Yellow Pages and look at it or use it as such. Oh, maybe it did, because I don't know, maybe it did have an effect. But we remember the adverts. Again, if you're in your probably mid to late 30s or older, I guess, really. If you're younger than that, you probably struggle to remember it. But yeah, so there was those. There's the milk tray ads. I don't know why I wrote that down. It just sprang to mind. That was kind of iconic in a way. PG Tips with the monkeys. Acting and dressed up and all that kind of stuff. That was clever. Heineken. It is a Cockney accent for you, which I'm going to butcher, but I'm going to do it anyway. The water in Mallorca don't taste like water in water. You having that? It was rubbish, wasn't it? If there's any Cockneys or anyone from London watching that, from London watching this, I should say, then you're probably just falling over yourself thinking, man, that was rubbish. It's all right, come on. Yeah, that's it. She goes in there with a posh accent, and they're like, no, we're not giving you the job, or something like that. And then they're like, yeah, get this down your neck. And they hand her the Heineken, she drinks it, and then she does the Cockney kind of thing. That's what it is. That's a classic ad. You should check it out. Don't just take my accent for it, which was rubbish. The AA adverts with AA being the repair car things. What's the words completely gone out of my vocabulary? But where they're in the back of they pick these old women up and they're driving down like the motorway, and the women in the back are going, "He's a very nice man. He's a very, very, very nice man." It goes on for like seemingly an hour. That's a classic advert. Again, if you're around about my age, you'll probably remember it. And then the last one I've put on, I think most of those were probably 80s, which turned into the 90s. They probably all started in the 80s. And the same was probably for this as well. And I've put Carlin Black Label, if anyone remembers that. There used to be a series of Carlin Black Label ads. The one which immediately springs to mind is the one with the Mission Impossible music and the kind of assault course, the squirrel, where they go up and down all these like things and they get nuts. And at the end, of course, it's I bet he drinks Carlin Black Label. And we used to say that at school all the time. It was like a throwaway line, which caught on at our school. Maybe it did at your school. But yeah, so I'd say those. But in all honesty, mate, I could talk for hours about that. When it comes to nostalgia, honestly, I mean, this video's gone on for 2 hours. Christ. But if it was a nostalgia-based video, it could go on for 5 times as long. So anyway, that's what we're going to talk about. No more. We've done it. We've dusted the vid. We've got it all done within 2 hours. How brilliant. What an achievement that is. So embarrassing. So please check out those channels that I mentioned at the start of the vid, if you're still watching, if anyone's still watching. I'm sure you'll like them if you like old retro stuff. And if you have any questions for next week or the week after, we're doing this kind of every 2 weeks, then please ask me. And if not, don't worry about it. I'm still going to do the vlog anyway. It's just additional content. Yes, the videos go on for a long, long time, but that's what the timestamp's for. You don't have to watch it. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.